And we are live. Welcome into the stream, everyone. Thursday night football is here. The NBA is back. I didn't even count it up before I started. Let's go take a look. Five. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 NBA props, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 NBA props. So combined, guys, 25 total props that we like for tonight. Let's start with the NFL. This is going to take up the vast majority of my time here. We're going to be talking Chargers versus Vikings. I absolutely love this matchup here. For the Chargers, I believe, let's take a look at their injury report before we get started with anything. Of course, they're missing Amarion Hampton. They're missing Najee Harris in the backfield. And Hassan Haskins apparently is also out for this game. So might be going heavy on the I haven't even paid that close of attention to this, but we might be going heavy on Kamani Vidal props here. His line's at 58. I'm sure he's getting 15 plus touches. I mean, that's what his line says. So I absolutely think that's going to be the case. Naheem Hines has signed on as the backup running back for the Chargers. He hasn't played a game since October of, oh, actually, this is October of this year. 0 carries, though. He hasn't touched a football in terms of actual NFL action since 2023. It's been 2 years, 2 seasons since that's happened. So I am super excited to talk to you guys about this game here. We've got, let's look at some other injuries. Joe Alt is questionable. He was a limited participant in practice. Let's go see if we've got any updates on that, because that would be huge for the Chargers run game. Let's see. Joe Alt says he will play according to Fantasy Pros. Update for Chargers. Let's see. Anything on Twitter? Let's go check on Twitter real quick, because I do think Joe Alt is extremely important to the Chargers run game. Let's see. Joe Alt. Just search him up. Top. Joe Alt is on the field for warmups. It looks like he's going to be good to go. Let's see. Anything else that we see here? Especially if they get Joe Alt. Oh, Trey Pipkins is also questionable. I did not see that, but let's continue down this injury report here. Troy Dye is questionable tonight. Yeah, Trey Pipkins is also questionable. Let's Google up Trey Pipkins. Still listed as questionable officially. Let's see if we have any updates on Twitter. Trey Pipkins. Okay, he was also on the practice field as of October 21st. So with Alt, it definitely seems like both of these guys are going to play tonight. So the Chargers offensive line has definitely gotten some juice back, and that is something that is extremely important to this run game, not to mention all of the injuries in the running back room that I've talked about. So Kamani Vidal, we will definitely be going back and taking a review on his props. Let's take a look over here at the Minnesota Vikings. CJ Ham, he's, not a big factor in the Vikings offense, right? He doesn't pay or play that much, but goal line stuff. CJ Ham gets some action, but he's out. Did not participate in practice this week. JJ McCarthy, limited participant. I doubt that he plays here. Let's take a quick Google search. JJ McCarthy. I mean, all the props are out for. Let's see why JJ McCarthy isn't playing tonight. Awaits positive. Yeah, it does not look like JJ McCarthy is playing. That questionable should probably be a doubtful. Once again, all the props are on Carson Wentz to play in this game. Andrew Van Ginkel is out for this game. Hasn't played in quite some time, I don't believe. Carson Wentz is going to play. Donovan Jackson was a full participant this week. Aaron Jones is listed as questionable. Let's go take a look at that Vikings depth chart real quick, because I don't believe that he's going to play tonight. Vikings, ESPN. Let's see. Depth chart. Aaron Jones is officially listed as questionable for this game. I wonder what's going to happen here. Vikings have activated Jones' hamstring, was officially listed as questionable against the Chargers, but is expected to play. Okay, so Aaron Jones is expected to play tonight. Very interesting, considering that he got injured in game 2, I believe, versus the Falcons. So I'm curious to see what his role looks like tonight. JJ McCarthy is listed as questionable. Let's see if we've got anything. JJ McCarthy on X here. Vikings are reportedly waiting until JJ McCarthy's kid graduates from medical school to get a third opinion on his dad's ankle. That is very comical. All indications. Okay, it says all indications. This is according to a couple of fan pages, no official reports, but it looks like he's going to be returning next week. So, Aaron Jones Sr. looks like he's going to play tonight. And then we've got JJ McCarthy probably will not play until next week. Don't have any like overly verified sources on that, but it seems like he will probably be back next week. Aaron Jones looks like he is going to play tonight. Let me see if I've got anything on X about his official activation. Let's see. Vikings activate. Okay. Vikings expected to activate Aaron Jones. Yeah, he's officially been activated. That's for sure. And he is in Los Angeles for Thursday Night Football, and he's dressed to the nine. He's got a sombrero on. Very interesting. Looks like Aaron Jones is absolutely going to play tonight. So that's going to affect some player props in the Vikings run game. Let's see. Let me pull up my plays here that I've researched, and we'll see if that affects anything. I have Jordan Mason down for a couple of my props. I might be getting rid of that. Let's see. I had him down earlier at 59.5 rushing yards, but let's see what the line has, if the line has shifted since we looked at it here. Jordan Mason. Actually, it's dropped to 53.5. I had him over. Well, actually, the line has pretty much stayed the same. I have 59.5 written down at plus 129 via DraftKings, and it's exactly where it's at. So that is very curious. Now, obviously, even in that Bears game, he received the lion's share of the touches, as Aaron Jones only had 8 carries for 23 yards against the Bears, 5 carries for 23. That game he got injured versus Atlanta. His current line is at 6.5, over under 24.5 rushing yards. That is definitely something that I would look at, this 24.5 number here. Now, anytime touchdown wise, let's see what Aaron Jones is real quick before we move on. Anytime touchdown is at plus 285. Not great odds at all for a guy who hasn't played in 4+ weeks. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason is at plus 165. Let's look at the red zone rushing rate here. Do we have anything on Aaron Jones? 2024, we have Jordan Mason. We don't have anything on Aaron Jones here. I wonder what it's going to look like. Let's see if we can find some game logs for the, or play-by-plays for the Chicago-Atlanta games. So play-by-play, we'll find touchdown drives for the Vikings. I believe they had 3 touchdown drives. Here's a touchdown drive against the Bears. And in the red zone, I'm getting deep into it real quick. Let's see. Touchdown drive, 60+ yards. 18, 5-yard run. Okay. It definitely still seems like Jordan Mason is the guy that's going to be running. Let's see, deep right, Aaron Jones, 27-yard touchdown, but that wasn't in the red zone. Okay. It seems like Jordan Mason's still going to be the guy. We're going to lean on that, considering, let's take a look at the Chargers and what they've allowed to running backs so far this season. They're 27th in the league in running back touchdowns on the ground. They have not allowed a single reception touchdown, but Jordan Mason is not a guy who gets overly involved in the run game or in the pass game here. So we're going to look at him plus 165 anytime touchdown. I'm actually going to stay away from his rushing prop of over 59.5. I had it written down, but now that I know Aaron Jones has been activated, we're going to pivot off that because I definitely think that that changes things. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of my other props that I've got here. By the way, welcome in to everybody just now joining. We're talking Vikings, Chargers. There's a lot of injury updates here. We'll be swapping actually Jordan Mason out, and we will go look at the Chargers running back one first, Kamani Vidal. Let's go take a look at him because his line is at 58.5 yards rushing. The Vikings have actually given this up one, two, three, four times. No, three times this season. They were very stout against Chase Brown, 10 carries for 3 yards, but I believe they oversold that run game. Pretty physical versus Saquon. But overall, let's take a look at them on the road. On the road, they're giving up 69.4 yards per game. And we can filter this out rush attempts more than, we'll say, 13 rush attempts. We'll go a little under his 15.5 line there. And we'll look at, yeah, this is happening 80% of the time. So I am a firm believer that Kamani Vidal, especially with the re-additions of Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins here, is going to get over this 58.5 line. We'll say officially, let's see if there's anything juiced. He averages around, looking at all of his stats here, averages around 5.6 carries for 27.3. That's a little under 4.5, I believe, yards per carry. So if he gets 14, what's 14 times 4.5? Can I do math? 14 times 4.5 is 63. So 64.5 is only plus 110. We'll go here at the minus 112 line. Minus 112. And we'll go Kamani Vidal over 58.5 rushing yards. Now he could soar well over this line here, but I am not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole because, quite frankly, the odds just are not big enough for me to go and risk. Like we're adding here a total of 7 yards, or I guess 6 yards, but really 7 yards to get to that plus 110 line. I don't like that. You only get 20 points of value, but you're asking for an extra 7 yards. And then for 10 or 11 yards, it's 60 points in value. I mean, I guess if you were going to take anything here, I would take 69.5 if you're going to try to juice it up. But 58.5 at minus 112, I like that one a lot. We'll go ahead and hammer that in, and that's via FanDuel. By the way, change the way I do things now. We are only looking at the big books, right? We've got 10 major sports books filtered out: DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars, Hard Rock, ESPN Bet, Prize Picks, Underdog, Bet365. Oh, and Fanatics as well. Nothing else really. People don't have access to a lot of these over or throughout the country. So we'll stick with the 10 major books here. And now let's talk about my favorite tight end in the league. This is a guy that I personally scouted, and I said he was going to eventually explode in the NFL, and he already has just 5 games into his young career. Oronde Gadsden for the Los Angeles Chargers. This guy is an absolute unit. He's 6'5", 260 pounds, I believe. He's a mammoth of a man. And the last 2 games, he's had 7 catches for, let's zoom in a little bit so people can actually see this wholeheartedly. So he's had an average of 7 catches for over 80 yards per game. That game versus Indianapolis was unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. 164 yards and a touchdown. He's starting to be put on my radar for Rookie of the Year. Now, obviously, this is some recency bias. This has only happened in the last couple of weeks, but I think the books have started to put some respect on his name. His over-under line is now at 43.5. I absolutely think he's going over that. Justin Herbert loves tight ends, and so does Jim Harbaugh. So I'm an absolute believer in this right here. plus 140 over 49 and a half. He's done it in his last 2 games. The Vikings, when they see tight ends that are targeted over 5 times, we see right here 7 catches, 63 yards. Outside of that, we don't see another Vikings player over that line until last year with, I believe this is Noah Fant. Yeah, 6 targets, 3 catches, but 50 yards given up. I absolutely think Oronde Gadsden is going over this tonight. Plus 140 via Hard Rock. I got it at plus 130 via FanDuel. So this is a huge upgrade here. Hard Rock, you get 10 points of value for the same line. Be sure to constantly shop as many lines as you can. Let's continue now and talk about Ladd McConkey. Now, this guy has been he's been off to a slow start in the season, but recently he started to pick it up, right? Game number 1, 9 targets, 6 catches, 74 yards. That's usually what we see out of Ladd. But the next 4 games, he averaged around he averaged around 4 catches for about 40 yards, or a little less than that, actually, which was very peculiar. I think this had to do with the emergence of Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen's resurgence, quite frankly. Looking at their games, Keenan Allen has been quite solid. That game versus Denver, 7 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown. Versus the Raiders, 5 catches, 61 yards and a touchdown. And then last week, Indianapolis, 11 catches, 119 yards. Now, that was a game versus the Colts where they were just throwing the ever-living crap out of the football. Justin Herbert threw the ball 55 times for 420 yards. So we're going to see some inflated lines here, right? Because we've already talked about Oronde Gadsden, right? He went for 164 yards last week. Keenan Allen went for 119. Ladd went for 67. So I think when it boils back down to a fiery Minnesota Chargers defense, you have to lean on your guy. And I definitely think that Ladd McConkey is still Justin Herbert's guy. So I'm going to go ahead and get him at over 64 and a half, plus 120. I got it at plus 135 via Hard Rock. We could see that some money has come in on that as of recent. 69 and a half at plus 162. I don't hate that as well. Let's take a look at Ladd McConkey. I believe he's going to get at least 6 or 7 targets. Has he played the Vikings? No, he has not played the Vikings, and neither has Justin Herbert, I don't believe, just because opposite conferences, right? You don't play each other that often. So let's take a look at what he looks like at home. At home, he's averaging 5.5 catches, 73.5 yards, well over that 64.5 line. In prime time, he's averaging 76.8, which is, again, well over that 64.5. He's hit it 2/3 of the time versus, let's look at his last 15 games. Last 15 games, he's averaging 82.3. So once again, 66% of the time, he's going over that line. I like that value a lot. I know Minnesota's defense is really tough, but look at what they've done against some of the big wide receiver ones in the league as of recent. DK Metcalf, 5 catches, 126 yards. Now, he did have an 80-yard catch, but he had 4 catches for 46 yards. That's still a pretty good day for DK Metcalf. Devontae Smith, 9 catches, 183 yards. Now, they did hold Jamar Chase to 5 catches, 50 yards, but that was versus a Bengals team with, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, the backup quarterback that was at the University of Washington. Oh, goodness. I'll think of his name in just a little bit. Let's go look at some other big name wide receiver ones. Puka, they held him back in January, 5 catches, 44 yards. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a lot like Ladd, he's got that slot receiver, quick footwork type route running, 6 catches, 77 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba, this was kind of his coming out game, right? 8 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. That's kind of what I'm viewing here for Ladd tonight. Slot receivers do pretty well, or not slot receivers, but guys who manipulate zone and man very efficiently and at a high rate, like Ladd McConkey, they do well against the Vikings, who have a lot of different shadow looks, clouded, or they run a lot of cloud as well. They blitz a ton. The stunts that they have are absolutely insane. But players that do well are players like Ladd McConkey. Justin Herbert, I do not think is going to fall for the same tricks that a backup quarterback with Cincinnati is going to fall for. So I like this line a lot at 64.5. Like I said, it's happening at a high rate here. And this is once again well over his standard line of 56.5. Now I'm getting 8 yards, 8 extra yards, but I'm getting 32 points in value. I think that's the threshold here. I average about 1 point equals 3.5 points of value, or 1 yard equals 3.5 points in value. So I'm getting over 3 points of value here. 8 yards for 4 points of value per yard. That's what I like to look at here. So 64.5 plus 120, big ups there. Let's continue now, and we'll keep talking about this Chargers team. So that's Lad McConkey or Rondé Gadsden, both of those guys over their yards. Justin Herbert, let's talk about him. I think he's going to throw an explosive pass in this game. The Chargers have been very dependent on that so far this season. Herbert has hit over his line of 35.5 one, two, three, four, five, 6 times in his first, or no, I'm sorry, 5 times in his first 7 games this season. And we can extrapolate that into looking to last season. He's hit it 10 out of 15 times, especially towards the back half of last season. I am a massive fan of Justin Herbert and his ability to get the ball down the field. He has so many weapons now at the wide receiver and tight end position that I quite frankly think he's bound to do this. Without their running game and Najee Harris and Amarion Hampton, I definitely think, as you can see here, right, Justin Herbert, 34 attempts, 27 attempts. That was with the healthy running back room. Unhealthy running back room begins versus Denver, 47-41. That game versus the Commanders, I believe, was a very strange game, very up and down. I think the Chargers blew a lead there. I could be wrong. I could be remembering this game wrong. But like I said, unhealthy running back room in these last couple of games. 38 versus the Dolphins, 55 versus the Colts, where they go down. I don't think that they'll go down tonight, but I do think Herbert is going to create an explosive play here. So I like this 35.5. Now, the Vikings have been pretty stout about preventing the explosive play, but over the past couple games, they've allowed it. 79-yard touchdown. I believe that was to Devontae Smith. Hurts threw a nuke. Let's see, who is that backup quarterback? Jake Browning was the backup quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals in that game that they played versus the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers got an 80-yard bomb. I think that was to DK Metcalf, but once again, could be mistaken there. With Herbert throwing on average, let's look at his last 5 games. Last 5 games, he's throwing the ball 42 times a game. We'll look at filter pass attempts and we'll say more than 35 pass attempts, considering that he's passing the ball 42 times per game. He's done this 4 out of his last 5. So we'll say more than. Wow, the Vikings are still pretty stout against that explosive play. They've let it happen a couple times. Jake Browning actually got him back in 2023. You just don't pass the ball a lot on this Vikings team, or at least they don't play quarterbacks that do pass the ball a lot. They haven't even played a quarterback that's passed the ball more than 35 times so far this season. So very impressed by this Vikings defense, but I'm going to lean on the quarterback at home. His lines are just unbelievably juicy. Now, he's very close to that explosive play there, but I do think the Chargers have more weapons than any team that the Vikings have played so far this season. Pretty much on par here with the Falcons in terms of weapons, but I think Justin Herbert's a much better quarterback than Michael Penix Jr. at this point in his career. So, like Herbert over that explosive play. Let's see, what other lines do I have that are pro Charger? I think that's it, actually. So, we're going to go ahead and move on and talk about this Minnesota Vikings team who is on the road back against the wall, honestly. Now, the Vikings haven't played a lot of opponents within conference. They played a lot of AFC teams to start this season, and they've only played one divisional matchup. But look at the Vikings, right? They've played the Bears, NFC team, and the Falcons, but then 1, 2, 3 AFC teams in a row, and they won 2 out of 3 of them. In conference, they are 1-2. Out of conference, they're 2-1, and even 3-3 so far this season. JJ McCarthy hurt early on this year. Carson Wentz has had to take the reins. Let's go take a look at some of his numbers. Carson Wentz for the Vikings in his last 3 games has started. Here we go. Yeah, last 3 games he got the start in that Bengals actually, no, 4 games. He's been a 4-game starter, and he's gone over his line of 231.5 the last 3 games. In that Pittsburgh game as well as in that Eagles game, they were down. I kind of expect that to be the same case here, especially through the 3rd and 4th quarter. So I think his passing prop at 231.5 is a little low. Now, the Chargers defense has been pretty good against the pass, but quite frankly, they haven't gone up against teams that have passed the ball a lot, right? They went up against it with Geno Smith, who has led the league in interceptions all year long. Patrick Mahomes was able to go over the line of 231.5. Daniel Jones kind of cut up this Chargers defense last week. And I think the Vikings and the Colts run a pretty similar system of quarterback here. I mean, they kind of come from the same tree, right? Shane Steichen and Kevin O'Connell come from that West Coast Kyle Shanahan style offense. Now, they don't run the same exact thing, but motion is really involved. It helps ID defenses for the quarterback. Over 231.5. Carson Wentz has done this in his last 3 games. I think they'll be down and forced to pass here. So I'm going over that. Now, the next line that I want to talk about here is Carson Wentz over 11.5 rushing yards. What did I get that line? I got it at -110. That line has actually jumped down to -120. He's done this in his last 3 games as well, and the Chargers have been unbelievably weak to quarterback run so far this season. 6 and 57 for Mahomes, 5 and 20 for Geno Smith, 8 and 33 for Bo Nix. And Carson Wentz has put the ball on the ground a couple times here. 2, 2, 3, 4. So I definitely think if Carson Wentz can tote the rock 2 times, he will go over this 11.5 number. Once again, I got it at -110. If you get it at -120, I don't think that's terrible value. 13.5 is -111 via DraftKings. So you can see the intrinsic value here. I think over this number is a wise play to play. So that's my Carson Wentz numbers. 231.5 over passing yards and over 11.5 rushing yards. So those are my 2 props there. Let's talk Jordan Mason. Now, I did at the beginning of this stream get rid of my Jordan Mason over rushing prop line. Let's see if those lines have changed any. So I had over 59.5. I don't remember what I had it at, but that line is now plus 140. These lines have started to go down now that more people are getting on the fact that Aaron Jones will be playing tonight. How many plays will he play? The world may never know. But what I do know is that Jordan Mason is going to be touching the rock in the end zone. Let's take a look at this Vikings offense. They're a passing offense. I did like Jordan Mason 2 touchdowns tonight as my long shot play of the night, plus 1,200. I still don't hate it, but what worries me is this Vikings offense is still passing the ball 60 near 67% of the time in the red zone. Now, Jordan Mason is still getting the lion's share of the red zone touches. He's averaging 0.7 touchdowns so far this season. Now, he got 2 versus the Bengals. He did not get any versus the Bears or the Falcons. I think the Vikings stick to their game plan of passing the football in the red zone. But I do think Mason, who scored 4 touchdowns, I believe, in the last 3 games, last 3 games, I think he'll do it again. So let's go back up to that prop real quick. Where is Jordan Mason? Jordan Mason, 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games, plus 165, I think is great odds. Aaron Jones is coming back, but he was not a red zone threat. The 1 touchdown he did score was on a 27-yard reception touchdown. So Jordan Mason, anytime touchdown, plus 165, I think is a lot of value there. Other NFL lines that I like here for the Vikings, let's see, TJ Hawkinson has been getting an increase in workload over the last 3 weeks. He's developed great chemistry with Carson Wentz. His line right now is at 31.5, and I'm absolutely going to be taking that at 1.1 units. 31.5 reception yards, minus 110 at, hold on one second, at MGM. Now, the Chargers have been pretty good against tight ends so far this season, but when tight ends are actually targeted, right? 0 targets for who even is this? Nate Adkins for the for the Broncos. Theo Johnson, 3 catches, 17 yards. Darren Waller coming. I think he got injured in this game actually. 2 catches for 12 yards. And then finally, Tyler Warren, 4 catches, 69 yards. So we see 3 tight ends have been able to do it on the Chargers so far this season. I absolutely think TJ Hawkinson is a top 10 tight end in the league. He's getting the target share and the receptions to match with that. So over 31.5 definitely makes sense to me. 20% of the target share. That seems like a wise decision. Carson Wentz has started to trust him in some pretty big moments here. He had that. I wouldn't call it a drop. Actually, I would call it a drop in the end zone last week. Didn't they called it a touchdown on the field and then reversed the call after replay? But Carson Wentz has a tremendous amount of trust for TJ Hawkinson. As a matter of fact, the second prop that I'm going to be hammering here is TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown plus 249 via underdog. I'm heavy on the Vikings scoring touchdowns tonight. Team props, let's see what their over-under is. 20.5. I absolutely think it's going over 20.5. As a matter of fact, I'll even add that to the list. 105 Vikings over 20.5 points, and that's minus 105 on Hard Rock. Yeah, I've added that to my list here. I think this Vikings offense is going to look very solid. The Chargers defense has not looked great in the last 3 weeks. 27 to the Commanders, 27 to the Dolphins, and 38 to the Colts last week. There is something about this Chargers defense that has been exposed, and the Vikings, I think, can take advantage of that. They've gone up against 3 elite defenses over the last 3 weeks in the Steelers, the Browns, and the Eagles. And they have put up 21, 21, and 22. So I think they can do it once again when they play mid-tier defenses like the Bears. They put up 27 against the Bengals, which is one of the worst defenses in the league. They throw up 48. So this is also a game in a dome. I kind of like the over for this game at over 44.5. Let's see. The Chargers are averaging 23 points per game in their last 10. Their offense has actually not been great over the last few games. A lot of that has to do with their offensive line help. It's going to get better tonight. Of course, they're missing their starting left tackle, Rashawn Slater. He's gone for, I believe, the majority of the season, if not all of it. And then Joe Alt has missed the last few games with an ankle injury. He looks like he's going to be returning along with Trey Pipkins. So this Chargers team should look a lot better tonight. That being said, these are my plays as of right now. Ladd McConkey over 64.5 receiving yards. Oronde Gadsden over 49.5 receiving yards. Justin Herbert over 35.5 longest completion. Carson Wentz over 230.5 passing yards. Carson Wentz over 11.5 rush yards. Kamani Vidal over 58.5 rushing yards. Jordan Mason anytime touchdown. TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown. And let's see who else. Oh, TJ Hawkinson, the over 31.5 receiving yards. And then last but not least, Jordan Addison. I like him for an anytime touchdown tonight. There are a lot of numbers that point to this favor. And then, of course, I'm going to add in the value here. The Vikings pass the ball 67% of the time in the red zone. Jordan Addison, through 3 games, is leading the Vikings in red zone target share. He's getting 2 targets per game in the red zone, and he's already scored a touchdown in one of his first 3 games. We're getting plus 220, unlike Justin Jefferson at plus 155, even though Jefferson is only averaging 17.6% of the red zone target share and has only scored, I believe, 1 touchdown or maybe 2 touchdowns so far this season. So I'm a big fan of Jordan Addison here in this spot. Let's look at the Chargers defense. They've given up just half a touchdown to wide receivers. I think they go with their number 2 guy here. The Chargers starting corners are pretty damn good if you ask me. But heavy on the tight end here, heavy on the running back. This is why I like Jordan Mason. This is why I like TJ Hawkinson. And then I think a lot of coverage is going to be put on Justin Jefferson. So if you're looking for a wide receiver too, Jordan Addison is your guy. So if all 3 of these hit, it's a massive plus. If just one of them hit, it pretty much covers the other 2. So I'm going with a TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown to kind of save me here. Jordan Addison plus 220 would do me a lot of favors there. So all of these are my lines for tonight. Let's go talk NBA basketball real quick because I think there is a tremendous amount of value in the first game. Pacers versus Thunder. All right, let's go take a look at that game real quick. NBA action. By the way, checking all this out on doinksports.com. Guys, I see so much value here on a day in, day out basis. I'm up over 50 units so far to start the year. Last night, I went 9 and 10 on my official picks, but still over 0.91 units. It's not a great night, right? But if you're doing this on a night out basis, you need to gamble responsibly, leverage every single thing that you do. Come to this website. You can filter out your sports books. Okay, let's say you live in, let's say, for example, let's say you live in Louisiana. You're pretty much available to all the major sports books, right? So you want to use all 23 of these, and you want to find the best lines possible. Profit X, by the way, best spot for Louisiana gamblers. The OKC tonight is a 270 minus 275 money line here. I really thought about taking that. As a matter of fact, I never take minus props. And if I do, that means I'm very confident in an OKC victory here. Ooh, you know what? I'm actually going to hammer it. 2.75 units on an OKC money line victory. That is a lot to ask for here, but I'm looking just for a free unit play. This Indiana team is extremely banged up to start the season. Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton out for the year after his heroic playoff run. I definitely think that the Indiana Pacers are going to take a major step back. Let me Google their record without Tyrese Halliburton from last year. Indiana Pacers. I could just look at Tyrese Halliburton's game log. Tyrese Halliburton game log. Let's see here. Tyrese Halliburton game log 2024, 2025. Might take me a minute. Maybe not. Let's see how many games he played. He played a lot of games. Did not dress. Loss. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 extra losses. 3 wins, 3 and 4. Another loss, another win. So 4 and 5. Yeah, 4 and 5 is the win-loss record here. The wins come against the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road. Very interesting win there. The Dallas Mavericks at home after Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving's injury. And then against the Brooklyn Nets. Those are the 3 wins. The losses come against the Orlando Magic, fully healthy. The Cleveland Cavaliers, fully healthy. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, again, fully healthy. So OKC, yes, they are a little banged up. I believe Alex Caruso is going to miss tonight. Lou Dort was questionable with an ankle injury, but has announced he's going to play. SGA had a very slow start, and OKC overall had a slow start. They shot horrendously from the three-point line against the Houston Rockets. I think that has to do with first-game jitters and getting your legs under you. It takes a couple games to get through there. And I think with the Indiana Pacers depleted lineup, OKC is going to be able to do that. That's why I have them winning. So that's my logic there. Let me erase this other play that I had because I don't think there's a ton of value in it here. Okay, the Indiana Pacers. I have been very, very meticulous in detecting these lines. For starters, I'm looking at Andrew Nembhard. Without Tyrese Halliburton, when he plays 32 minutes, which he's going to play over 30 minutes tonight, 78% of the time, he's going over 13 and a half points. I have him at over 15 and a half points, plus 146. That's 71% of the time he's hitting that. I definitely think that's going to happen. Plus 146 via FanDuel. That has a tremendous amount of value to me. And then we're going to go over and look at points plus rebounds. Right now, he's hitting points plus rebounds 78% of the time at 68.5. 18.5 is plus 125. I'm actually going to stay away from that because, well, I think he's going to do. No, I'm actually going to stay away from that one. We're going to cancel that one out, and I'll replace that official play with my OKC money line play. So let's talk about this next play. Let's go to Aaron Nesmith. Aaron Nesmith tonight, when he plays 23 or more minutes, which he's absolutely going to do as a starter in a depleted Pacers lineup, he averages 15 points per game and he averages 5.9 rebounds. His standard line is at 4.5 plus 120 rebounds. I'm taking the over on that. Looking here at Isaiah Jackson, starting center. Now, I've seen some interesting articles about Isaiah Jackson and what the Pacers are going to do at the center position. They lose Miles Turner in free agency to the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's look at this line real quick. Isaiah Jackson, can we filter this out? I believe he's going to play at least 20 minutes tonight. So we'll go more than 20 minutes. He's averaging 6.9 rebounds. Now, I think this is a little bit, I think he's going to get a little over this. Over 6.5 rebounds. He's only done it 53% of the time. But like I said, I think he's in line for about 28 to 29 minutes. And you can see he gets over that line. Now, this is all the way back in 2024. Jackson was not really a big rotational player for the Pacers last year, but they're very depleted this year without Miles Turner. So over 6.5 is plus 178. I got it at plus 185 via DraftKings. So I would look out for this line here. The money has gone down, which makes me think that some money has gone on the under, but I guess we'll have to wait. Or maybe, I'm sorry, the money has gone in on the over. So I want to see what that has to do with tonight's game. And then additionally, I think when he plays over 20 minutes, he's going to score more than 7.5 points. The Pacers are very center-centric with Miles Turner from last year. I don't think they're going to change their system that much. Points plus rebounds. He averaged 18, over 13.5 is plus 102. I went as far to say as something bold as over 15.5. That's plus 168 now because let's see, over 15.5. I had it at plus 154. That's plus 168 now via FanDuel. I think there's a tremendous amount of value there. He's doing it 70% of the time in games that he plays 20 or more minutes in, which I do think he will play tonight. Now, this is a very speculative pick, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't necessarily know what the minute lineup is looking like. I'm banking here on a misprice on all of these Pacers lines. Now, I'm going to take an insurance play here. Obi Toppin, I've read in a lot of articles, might be the solution at center for the Pacers. They might have some small ball lineups here. And so Obi Toppin will be my next Pacers play. Hold on one second. I just got a message about my stream. I apologize. So let's scroll down and look at Obi Toppin. Because like I said, I read in a couple articles that he might be the fix at center for the Pacers. And that definitely could be true. I believe is at the bottom of this line here. Some of these other players are listed as out on the official ESPN website. Don't know what that's about, but I guess we'll see. Obi Toppin, his line is at 4.5 rebounds. And if he is the replacement at center, right? And maybe he'll play more than 20 minutes per game. We see the majority of these games he's playing 20 plus minutes. As a matter of fact, I have it filtered out for 20 plus minutes. He's averaging 5.1 rebounds. So I'm going to go over 4.5 rebounds plus 134. That's my play here. If Obi Toppin ends up playing a good amount of center, that's going to be it. So I paired all of this up together. These are all kind of contingent on each other. Isaiah Hartenstein is somebody that gets utilized by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the regular season heavily. Last year in the regular season, he averaged, I believe, over 20 some odd minutes. Let's look at the regular season numbers. Let's go back and look at Isaiah Hartenstein stats. Let me look at his general stats. In the regular season, he averaged 28 minutes per game. In the playoffs, he averaged just, let's see, regular season total. Oh, these are all regular season stats. So he went from 28 minutes to in the postseason, he averaged 22 minutes. So I think he's going to be back up to that 27, 28 number versus the Rockets. He played 37 minutes. So I think we're going to go with his average. We'll say filter by minutes and we'll go more than 26 minutes per game. He is grabbing 11.2 rebounds per game, and he's also averaging 4 assists a game. So that's a combined 15 rebounds and assists. And he's also averaging 10.9 points. So points plus rebounds here, I'm going to go over 20. I said over 23 and a half. Let's see what his line is. He's averaging 22.1 when he goes over 28 minutes or 26 minutes. I said over 23 and a half because number one, Isaiah Jackson, not a 3-point shooter. Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be down in the paint for the vast majority of this game. Not to mention, I think he's got a major leg up on Jackson and or Obi Toppin. So I think he's going to grab about 13, 14 rebounds in this game. He's going to score around 10 points. And that's why I like this over 23 and a half. I get it at plus 124. It's at plus 126 now via FanDuel. I'd 100% be taking that. And then rebounds plus assists is at 13 and a half. I actually got that plus 102 via DraftKings. You can get it at minus 110 or minus 111 via FanDuel. So those are all of my plays for tonight. A lot of them doubled up. I have 2 Andrew Nembhard picks, 2 Isaiah Jackson picks, 2 Isaiah Hartenstein picks, and then I have OKC to win. And then I threw in there Obi Toppin over 4.5 rebounds, Andrew Nembhard over 15.5 points. Those are my props for tonight. Oh, and and Aaron Nesmith over 4.5 rebounds. Last but certainly not least, before we end this stream, let's go ahead and talk about the Nuggets Warriors game. Now, I did not find as much value in this game as I did some others, but I do think that there is some value here, specifically off the bench. There were a couple of bench props that I thoroughly liked. So let's filter out and let's look at Buddy Hield, who I think is going to be a major rotational piece. Not to mention, Moses Moody is out for this game tonight. So be on the lookout for that as well. Moses Moody out. Buddy Hield will probably play more minutes than he usually does. In that game versus the Lakers, he played 22. I filtered out 18 minutes. I think 19 minutes is a good line for him tonight. And in 70% of his games, he's going over 10.5 points. He's averaging 14.1. So I just took one extra point here and I said over 11.5. He's hitting it 66% of the time, plus 125. I think that has a good amount of value there. 12.5, hitting at 63%, plus 168. I don't hate that as well. For one extra point, actually, I'm going to go ahead and convert mine. Buddy Hield over 12.5 points. And we'll say that, yeah, that's plus 168. So you're getting 40 points of value here for just one more point. I love it. He's, like I said, averaging 14.1. If we look at him at home as well, let's look at his stats at home. At home, it actually drops down to 10.9. That's actually pretty shocking. Versus the Nuggets last year, he got 2 points and 6 points. Another very interesting thing, I guess. I like this line because I do think there's some value. The Nuggets games, both of those could, or actually just one of those, he didn't play against the Nuggets early on in the season. He only had 2 points in that game. I think that's very interesting. He's hitting the 3-point at 3 out of 8. Just 3 shots alone will get him to 9 points. I think there's a good amount of value in 12.5 here at plus 168. If you want to play it safe and go 11 plus 125, I think that's a good idea as well. But I do see a good amount of value here in over 12.5 points. Next prop that I want to look at off the bench is going to be Bruce Brown. Let's go up here and find him. Bruce Brown has been playing some point guard here for the Nuggets in the preseason, which I thought was very interesting. But I do think he's going to see 15 minutes or more. The Nuggets are very thin at the guard position, specifically that point guard position. But I think Bruce Brown rotationally will be a good 6th man for them this year. Tim Hardaway Jr. is also in that rotation. His line is at 5.5 points, minus 105. I took Bruce Brown over 6.5 points because one extra point got me 30 points in value. I found it at plus 130 via ESPN. It's now plus 125 via Fanatics. I think those are great lines there. In the preseason, he was averaging around 7 to 8 shots per game. I think that's going to be the same as well. If he can just hit 3 of them, 3 for 7, he's right at that 6 and 6.5 line. So I do think that there is a good amount of value there. Now I'm going to go with a couple of other props that I like over 1 unit. I usually, if you've been watching these streams for quite some time, I usually do not like lines that are over 1 unit, especially lines that are over like 1.5 units. Right now, I love this line. Draymond Green, 63% of the time, has recorded a block in his last, what is that, last 30 games. I think he's going to play at least 27 minutes tonight. So filter it out by minutes. 27 minutes. He's done it in 66% of his games. I know that this is a riskier play, but I think that this is kind of a layup here versus the Denver Nuggets. Let's look at what he's got in all of his recorded games. Versus the Denver Nuggets, he's averaging 1.6. He's done it 7 out of 10 times. I like this line a lot. He's going to be on Jokic. Jokic likes to play in the paint. Over half a block minus 170. I think this is good value here. And then next up, another over 1 unit play here. Jimmy Butler has an over under here of 1 3-pointer minus 135 via Hard Rock. He's done this 81% of the time with the Golden State Warriors. And then versus the Nuggets, he's done it twice. They played the Denver Nuggets twice last season. The Warriors did. He did it twice. And he even chunked up 7 threes in those 2 games, which is over his average of 2 over his last 30 with the boys. Like I said, this is a line that I really like. He's done this 13 out of 16 of his last games. There is a tremendous amount of value in it. And at minus 135, it's just too good to pass up. So those are my 2 like big unit props that I like. 1.35 units on this one, 1.7 units on Draymond over half a block. Next 2 props that I like, Nikola Jokic. Let's go take a look at old Yoke here. I think he's obviously going to play 35 plus minutes as he has in almost every single one of his last 30 games. And then looking at what he's done versus the Warriors. Versus the Warriors, I don't think they know really how to defend him. These are big primetime matchups where I think it's going to be very Jokic centered. I've got him at over 50.5 PRAs. Actually, the line is dropped here. So I had him at over 50 PRAs plus 102. I can now get him at 49.5 PRAs for plus 102. So the line has dropped a little bit. I'll be taking that all day, every day. He's done this 64% of the time. So the implied value there is like plus 130, plus 140, maybe even plus 150. And I'm getting it. Excuse me. 64% of the time means I'm getting like a minus 160, minus 170, not a plus. Minus 160, minus 170 value, and I'm getting it even. So I love that prop right there. Looking at his last 30 games, he's well under that, but a lot of these are factoring in his playoff games where the game slows down. You don't get as many rebound chances. You don't get as many assist chances because people are playing better defense. But if we look at Jokic on the road, we can filter out a little bit more of those. He's averaging 48 there, dropping down from 54. Versus Golden State, though, like I said, averaging 52.1. I love Jokic in this spot. He's a triple-double machine. His triple-double odds are plus 141. I would consider that, even though he hasn't done it in quite some time. Go with Jokic heavy on this, over 49.5 PRAs. Next one, the new addition to the Denver Nuggets, the biggest new addition to the Denver Nuggets, is going to be Cam Johnson, who is a 3-point cranker. Okay. On the road, he's averaging 7 threes attempted per game. He's going 3 threes out of 7. I think he's going to get the same amount of shots. Michael Porter Jr. is a guy that I look at for these kind of spots here. Versus Golden State, he's done it in 3 of his last 4. Now with Brooklyn, of course, it's a little different. With Phoenix, he got a little more attention from the Warriors. But in this game specifically, he's averaging, I think he's going to go over this line. I got it at plus 110 via MGM. That line's dropped to plus 100. So some people have dropped some money on the under 2.5 made threes here. The Warriors are giving up two threes to small forwards on 4 attempts. That's 50%. Small forwards are shooting 50% from 3 against the Warriors, whereas Cam Johnson, I think, is one of the best 3-point shooting threes in the league. So if he can just attempt 7 of them and hit less than 50%, which is 3. I definitely think there's a good amount of value in there. So that's going to do it for this stream. I'm really quickly going to go over the logic for all of my props here. I have, close to 25. I think I X-nayed a couple of them as we went throughout the stream. But first up, Lad McConkey, primetime numbers, at home numbers with Justin Herbert healthy. All of those percentages say over 64.5. Oronde Gadsden, big time playmaker for the Chargers over the last couple of weeks, built up some rapport with Justin Herbert, over 49.5 receiving yards. Justin Herbert, I think he's going to hit an explosive play. He's done this in 5 of his first 7 games, over 35.5 longest pass yard. Meanwhile, Kamani Vidal is going to be the only Chargers running back in the lineup tonight that's even had a carry so far this season. I love him, over 58.5 rushing yards. Jordan Mason, I like him for an anytime touchdown. I think Aaron Jones is back tonight, yes, but Jordan Mason was the red zone running back to begin with. So if the Vikings get down there close, Jordan Mason's going to get a touch. TJ Hawkinson, I like him for a touchdown. The Vikings pass the ball 67% of the time in the red zone. Him, and then I'm pairing it with Jordan Addison, anytime touchdown. Both of these guys, 200 plus on their anytime touchdown odds. I like that a lot. TJ Hawkinson, I like him over 31.5 receiving yards. He's built up quite a rapport with Carson Wentz in the backfield, so I definitely think he's going to be relied upon in a primetime away spot in a dome. Last but certainly not least, Carson Wentz, over 230.5 passing yards. This is a seasoned veteran guy that started to establish himself in this offense. I definitely think he's going over 230.5. Carson Wentz, over 11.5 rush yards, minus 110. The Chargers have given up this line in 4 or 5 of their first 7 games to quarterbacks that have rushed the ball more than 3 times. Carson Wentz has now been putting the ball on the ground quite a few times over the last 3 games. I think this will be a factor in the Vikings game plan here. So I like over 11.5 rush yards. Let's see, any ones that I missed. Oh, Vikings, over 20.5 points. They've done this in the last 3 weeks against elite defenses. The Chargers have been slacking over the last 3 games. They're allowing over this point line. It's a short week, I know, but Kevin O'Connell is one of the best offensive minds in the league. I think the Vikings take advantage of that and score over 20.5 points. So those are all my props for Thursday Night Football. Now let's talk the NBA. First up, Andrew Nembhard, over 15.5 points. Without Tyrese Halliburton, when he plays 30 or more minutes in a game, he's averaging 18 points per game. So I'm taking him over 15.5. Let's go see what that line is now that we're looking at quickly. And then I'll continue down my list. Player props for this Thunder Pacers game. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and advertise this while I'm loading this in. I love doinksports.com. There's a reason that I am going to. Oh, these are confirmed starters now. Isaiah Jackson will be starting. Phenomenal. I got some really good value on this then. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. Let's continue. Confirmed. 32 minutes. He's averaging 18.5 points per game. His line's at 13.5. I love that. I'd be taking the over there. I'm going over 15.5 plus 146. I got plus 146 via FanDuel. So I got 2 points and I got 50 points in value there. So I love that. I think there is a great line here for Andrew Nembhard. I think the Thunder are going to end up blowing out the Pacers. I've got OKC 2.75 units on the money line. I think OKC would have blown Houston out of the planet, off the stratosphere, if it wasn't for their lack of 3-point shooting. Now OKC has struggled with that, but I do think this was uncharacteristic. Their first game, I think it just had to do with first game jitters or ring night being a distraction. Their legs just weren't under them. I think they hit more threes tonight, better shots. So I'm absolutely going over 15.5 for Andrew Nembhard. OKC money line. Aaron Nesmith, his standard line is sitting at over 4 rebounds. He's done this in 66% of his last few games where he's averaging over 23 minutes a game. I think he hits over 23 minutes in this game and therefore grabs 5 rebounds plus 120 via MGM. Isaiah Jackson, this is a confirmed starter in the Pacers lineup tonight. That game is actually starting right now. So quickly. Over 6.5 rebounds plus 185. Isaiah Jackson over 15.5 points and rebounds plus 168. Obi Toppin over 4.5 rebounds plus 134. Isaiah Hartenstein over 23.5 points and rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein over 13.5 rebounds and assists. Oh, and then last but certainly not least, in all of my picks here, Nikola Jokic over 49.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Cam Johnson over 2.5 3-pointers made. Jimmy Butler to record a 3 made. Draymond Green to record a block made, or to record a block. Bruce Brown over 6.5 points. Buddy Hield over 12.5 points. That's going to do it for this stream. We are cutting it off just at the hour mark. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Go to doinksports.com. You can check out Thursday Night Football for free. Use my code PLIZONT. That's PLIZONT for 25% off of any purchase of your choosing. Go check me out at Plazone on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I talk NBA, college football, and the NFL. That's going to do it for this stream, guys. We'll be doing a Saturday